the best day to be living in Tampa or
Mhm.
to have any kind of affiliation with Tampa Bay. What an incredible, well, week, actually. The whole week was pretty incredible. And we'll talk a little bit about that and about some of the people that participated in the Super Bowl activities. But I brought a special guest this morning. You will notice that she is not Valerie. That's because Valerie is taking a well deserved day off. She'll probably pop up in the comments, I'm sure. I'd like you all to meet Gabriella Bell. Gabriella is an entrepreneur in her own right. She is the founder and CEO of Organized Q, and I'll let her tell you about that. But she has a whole list of very interesting things that she's done. And she is also going to be working with us at Action Zone on the Action in Motion Incubator and Provisional Board. So, welcome, Gabriella. Gabi, as I've
Got
come
it.
to call you.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself and tell everybody about you.
Uh,
And don't be shy or humble.
okay. All right. Thank you so much, Rosie. First of all, I'd like to say, although I'm located in Washington, D.C. right now, we have roots back in Tampa. My oldest son, whose birthday is today, he turned 16, was born in Tampa. So we were rooting on the Bucks last night while we were watching the Super Bowl. So we're super excited, and it looked like so much fun and a whole lot warmer than here in D.C. So
Yes, I'm
I'm
sure of that.
excited. I'm excited for all of you, and yeah, I bet the energy there is really a lot of fun right now. Stay safe, wear your masks, social distance, of course, but
Definitely.
it looks like a lot of fun. But thank you for inviting me to come here today. My name is Gabriella Bell. I go by Gabi. I'm the founder of Organized Q, Virtual Executive Assistant Services. And a little bit about me, I started off as a teacher many, many years ago. I actually taught in Tampa, and I'm a former military spouse. And the journey of many military spouses, my story was while I was on maternity leave, I ended up turning in my resignation because we received military orders to move across the country. So I did that for a long time, many moves, PCSs, and deployments, and children later. Uh, our fourth child, as she was going into school, I was like, you know what is it that I want to do? Now, along those lines, between um, having had my first and my fourth, I mean, we'd moved several times. But
Of
I was always
course.
still involved. I was always involved, with other organizations or volunteering or, side gigs here and there. Along the way, I ended up taking a gig as a virtual assistant. It was independently contracted with the CEO of a small business. He had reached out and he said, "Hey, what do you think about this? We've never done this before, but what would you think about, helping me grow this business?" And I'm like, "Sure," especially because I could do it from home.
Hmm.
And at the time, having small children going back to school is, pretty difficult, trying to, especially when you're in a very expensive place of living, childcare can almost wipe out a
Absolutely.
salary. So I was doing this. I ended up going through a program, another entrepreneurial program here in Washington, D.C. called the Dog Tag Bakery Fellowship Program. And it's a program focused on entrepreneurship, and they've partnered with Georgetown University. It's a 5-month program. I applied and fortunately was accepted into it. And during that time, it was really great because I personally was going through major life changes. Our family dynamics were changing. And I was trying to figure out, how can I return to the professional workspace and still be here for my children, while we go through this really big transition. So while I was there, I decided, they really helped me refocus. And I decided that, I wanted to take this gig that I was doing as a virtual assistant, and I wanted to turn that into a business,
Hmm.
because I was seeing success on doing this with one CEO. And so I thought, well, this is part-time, and that's exactly what he needed. It was exactly what I needed. And as I had more time in my life, especially, to focus on professional endeavors, I said, well, let's see if we can duplicate this, with other individuals. So I found myself in a business,
Hmm.
which in retrospect, I mean, I just thought of it as, oh, it's another job. I have a little job and then I have
Right.
another job. But through this, what I really started to realize, especially when I started to connect with other um, entrepreneurial endeavors or incubators, is that, hey, you can take this problem that you're solving, right? And you can monetize it. You can find a way um, to make this work. And so I've really, really focused on that. So we are along the lines, I'm very passionate about the military connected community, especially military spouses and family members. And one of my social impacts is like, how can I help other military spouses
Right.
find flexible remote work? Um, so we now have where we are a team of 13 now. There's 13 of
Wow.
us. And so it went from one deep, it was just me, I was the company, to now we're 13. And we're employing military spouses, veterans, and other underemployed individuals who
Hmm.
really would like flexible remote work, because life happens, and
Yep.
we can't predict pandemics, and we can't predict what might be around the corner, but we still many of us still have to work. So that's what we're doing. We're really excited. We provide executive assistant services to small business owners, um, executives, and social impact organizations, and it's going really well.
That is so cool. And when did you start the organization, or when did you, I know you were working, but when did you start thinking you needed to bring on more people and make it this an opportunity?
So I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I would say it was 2.5 years ago
So
when
long before the pandemic.
oh yes, yes, before the pandemic for sure. And we always knew that remote work works. What the pandemic has shown us is that we have to do a lot less convincing to
Right.
other individuals that we can make this work for them. So what we have actually found is that because of the pandemic and so many people working from home, they've really found like, I need more help. Not me personally, but the clients that come to us, we need more help
Mhm.
in getting organized and making sure we're staying on top of things. And that's where we come in, and that's where we help.
Yeah,
And
I'm certain that there are the impact of the pandemic, though it has been catastrophic for businesses and
mhm,
ending for so many, that the realization that businesses can function with remote workers more efficiently and more cost effectively has got to be a real boon to businesses like yours, and the opportunity to engage other military community members in
mhm.
this endeavor is just, of course, is near and dear to my heart. What states are represented by the 13 in your organization?
Um, well, first of all, we're all dispersed all over. We're just in the on the con on the continental US.
Uh-huh.
We are open to, we will hire anybody, I should say that, not just military spouses or veterans. So we have individuals in California, we have Ohio, where one of our military spouses is about to move to Nebraska. We have the Washington, D.C. area, Florida, Texas, Mississippi. And so, geographically dispersed, but also our clients are as well.
Right.
So our clients are in different time zones, and we make it work. Um, and we go into it, especially like for Organized Q. Right now, we are not, if somebody needs a full-time EA, we're not the company for them. We're looking for individuals that need part-time,
Mm-hmm.
flexible help. And that's what we provide, and that's what we do. And our biggest I guess goal is to make sure that not only our team members but also our clients feel like we're helping them to take their professional and their personal life and is integrating well, because right now everything seems to blend together, and if
Yes.
we can find a nice rhythm, then that's a win. So that's what we're doing on both sides, for our team and then for our clients as well.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome. And that you've withstood the pandemic couldn't have done much harm to your business. It could only have elevated it because people saw the need. Tell me about the program that you went to that was in partnership with Georgetown University. What was that all about and what was it
Sure.
like?
So, so It's Dog Tag Bakery. It's a nonprofit organization here in Washington, D.C., and it was started several years ago by Father Curry and Connie Milstein, and they had this vision of providing a a place and space for uh, service connected disabled veterans, military spouses, and caregivers. And there's a long history behind why they were targeting that population. And it goes back to, a little bit of Father Curry's previous experience. He spent a lot of time working in Walter Reed. He saw from that perspective that um, this those veterans, those caregivers, those family members, that they were left out,
Mm-hmm.
especially in like, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next professionally? How can you balance this out? So very, very, very forward thinking. Father Curry was part of Georgetown University, and so was able to partner with them and um, individuals that go through the fellowship program. It's 5 months. It's very intense. Like that's your
Uh-huh.
full-time job, if you will. And you go through and you end up earning a certificate in business administration from Georgetown. So for
Wow.
me, when I went through this, applications are open for the next cohort, which starts in the fall. I'm happy to share that as well.
Absolutely.
Um,
Make sure you put a link in the comment section
okay,
on the Action Zone thing.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it used to be, you needed to be geographically accessible to Washington, D.C., but because of the pandemic, they have opened it up so they're able to accommodate other individuals who aren't necessarily here in
Mm-hmm.
the D.C. metro area. So that's a plus. Um, coming from a background of education, I had not had any experience in formal business education or any of that thought leadership or anything like that. So
Right.
it's really fantastic. And I really loved that after so many years that I was in a classroom setting again. I
Only as the student instead of the teacher.
Right, and so the teacher as a student, but also you go through the fellowship and they use it as essentially a small, like an incubator, right? You rotate through the bakery to learn how a small business is run. So you have different times where you're working in. Sometimes you're working in the bakery. Sometimes you're working in the front of house. Sometimes you're helping with finances or the marketing or the whole gamut of how to run a business. And they have a bakery, which ends up um, funneling into supporting the fellowship program.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so it's a nonprofit and that's their social impact. And the
Mm-hmm.
plug was a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, actually, Obama and Biden came in to have lunch. It was the first time they had been seen publicly together in many years. And so they came to Dog Tag Bakery to support the fellowship. And if you go to the Dog Tag Bakery website, you'll see some great pictures of when they were there. So it was exciting. And you know, for me, I loved being a stay-at-home mom. I loved it. I loved teaching when I was teaching. And I also found that at a certain point, I'm like, I love being here with my family, but I also need to go back to work because things are changing. Um, and it was the first time in a long time, that I felt that what I was doing outside of the home was important. And for me personally, that was a huge motivator. I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. I loved having this space that was my own. And I would come home and my kids were all excited, like, Mom, what are you doing? And my littlest one, she would say, she saw a picture of me and Obama. And she's like, Mommy, when I want to grow up, I want to run a bakery and I want to meet the president. So that was her idea. I wasn't in the bakery constantly making baked goods, and that was part of it, but that was her perception.
Right.
So that was a big motivator too. So
Yeah. Are you familiar with the book Who Owns the Ice House?
no.
My friend Gary Schonager wrote that book, co-wrote that book, and I follow him on Facebook, obviously. And he wrote something that struck me, reminded me of what he wrote when you said that about feeling like something was important. He posted that from a book, to make an original contribution, you have to be irrationally obsessed with something. And that's so true. And it's applicable to this, because when you found a business that, first of all, you were professionally inclined to do because you had experience doing that. Plus, you had the teaching background, so you dealt with people, you understood, especially executives. Present company, anybody that's watching, please do not take offense, but I would think that assisting executives, CEOs, is probably very much like having a classroom and teaching children.
Sometimes, yes, yes. And I'll
No,
have
go
to
ahead.
expand well, on that space. Um, it is, so what I have found, and some of our best team members have education backgrounds too. And what we are finding is that those that have an education background and are used to organizing and the way that you run a classroom, the way that you run a school, that those steps are really important. You've got to think about the now, you've got to think about long term, and that's what we're doing. And then the military spouse community as well, constantly moving. We're always doing that as well. Our logistics are like putting it all together. How can we be efficient with our time and our resources? And so what we have found in this population of individuals is that those skills have already been developed, and now we're just funneling them into something very specific as executive assistants for CEOs and small business owners.
Yeah, and we've talked before that something, a financial mechanism that is portable and an easy ramp up when these military spouses are relocating is so important to me. Finding something that fits for them. And I know of other military spouse related virtual executive assistant organizations. There can't be too many of them, is my feeling. They're all over the country. They specialize in different areas of that service. I love that you are very specific, and I think you attract the people to work with you, number one, and but also the executives, number two, who are not looking for somebody that's a full-time 9 to 5, be there when I pick up the phone or the Zoom to talk with you, because not everybody needs that and not everybody wants that, nor can everybody afford that. But by having that as an option, it's a service that's available. You definitely hit the pain point on the head when you but you'd already seen that because you'd been doing it. So you already on both fronts, from the executives side where they need part-time flexibility, and on the executive assistant side, where they need the same thing. So that's pretty cool. I'm really excited for you, and I'm excited to learn about that. And I'm glad that we're sharing it, because I know that people who are watching the Facebook Lives may either have this need or know someone that has this need. So we'll try to make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of you. I did put your link in the
thank you,
in the chat. Yesterday when I was watching the Super Bowl, and this just plays right into what I was thinking about. At the end of the Super Bowl, when Paul Glazer got on, and he's in the family that owns the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He said something about his father always said, if you want to know the road ahead, talk to somebody who's been there. And so when you talk about the participation in the program at Georgetown University and cultivating new executive assistants to function in your organization as their own independent, correct? There are their own independents.
Well, no. And for Organized Q, we bring them on. So and then we pair them, but it's not a placement agency. So our clients work with Organized Q. We look at our talent pool, and so this is essentially how we do it. As new prospective clients come in or projects come in, because we'll do project-based work as well. As that comes in, we look at our talent pool to see who has the time associated with that particular client or project. We also look at, what are the skills that are needed, and then we try to pair it that way. So that, for example, we have team members who they know, at some point they're going to be moving, and they're going to need to be slowed down, for a period of time and then can ramp back up. So, we look at that because we want to make sure that our team members are supported fully, but also our clients. So we pair
Absolutely.
them. We don't just pair them and say, okay, see you later. But what's different about us, and you were talking about there are other organizations that do this as well. It's true. I'm very much the mindset that, it's collaboration over competition. There's
Absolutely.
so much work that is out there. There's so many opportunities to help others and to grow. So I don't fear that. I actually, reach out to other individuals that are in the same space, because sometimes like bouncing ideas off of each other are helpful. And you're not always going to find that. You're going to find some people that want to keep things really close and really
Right.
tight, and that's fine. Um, that's that's not how we operate, but that's fine. So, and what we try to, what makes us different as well is that, we're not, when we fill the position as virtual EAs, we're not just doing tasks. I mean, it really comes down to building that relationship with
Hmm.
our clients, because oftentimes it's part, you know, um, what would you call it? Therapist, part counselor, part every,
Right.
those are the relationships that end up being built, because oftentimes people come to us, they know they need help. They don't know what kind of help. We help guide them, we get into it, but through that personal relationship ends up really mattering to them. And that's where they find the value. Yes, we're helping them with administrative tasks that help them save time and grow their businesses and increase their revenue. But we're also there going, well, have you thought about this? Or, hey, you have a family. Do you want to maybe carve in some time where you do that? So, because it's important, and
Hmm.
it's really important. And we do that on our team side too, making sure they feel supported.
Everything you just said speaks right to what Paul Glazer said last night, is that if you want to know what lies on the road ahead, ask someone who's been there. And so your Georgetown University, not knowing how this business piece works, the executives and the virtual assistants that you pair, one knows the road ahead and the other struggling to figure out how to get there.
Right.
Action Zone's entrepreneurship program, whether you go to Action Zone, which we want you to, or you find another resource like the Dog Tag Bakery, or
Hmm.
the Jim Moran Institute at
Right.
Syracuse University, or any of the other programs, the way that you're going to find the next step down the road is to talk to people who've been there, pair
Right.
up with people who have had this journey and have experienced the highs and lows of starting a business and learned the mistakes that cost them time and money. Those are the things that you get when you're involved in these programs. And it varies depending on if it's an academic certificate or a really tactical um, get on the stick kind of program,
Right.
but the premise is the same. Every bit of knowledge that you get is coming from people who've already been there, and who can,
Mhm.
if you're open to receiving the information that they're sharing with you, you can avoid some of those pitfalls. And you can, as Dr. Russ Barnes likes to say, become purposefully profitable,
Right.
intentionally building that business so that your prospects for success are just that much better. It's
Right.
hard to start a new business. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
many of them, everybody knows food businesses, restaurants, they always tout these statistics, like 75% of food businesses go out of business in the first year, which I did find an interesting fact, that 68% of all percentages are made up on the spot, including that
Oh,
one.
okay. Okay.
So I don't, but the truth of the matter is, if you look at the Kauffman Foundation site, they'll tell you that the the viability of any startup, it only has a 50-50 chance of
Hmm.
actually becoming successful. And
Right.
of course, the longer you're in business, the better the odds, but you just need to always be looking at the road ahead and finding people who are already there to try to help you get to that spot and maintain that spot so you can grow even further.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. What is it? Is it 3 years? Like if you hit the 3-year mark with your business, like I think that's a big hump. I'd have to go back and look, but there's like, it's like either 3 years or 5 years that, a large
Well, I'm hoping
percentage.
it's 3 because Action Zone is going to be 3 in a couple of
Okay, I
months.
think I think it's like once you hit the 3 year mark that like you've surpassed several others that could, for whatever reason, couldn't
Right.
make it, a pandemic hit, whatever it is. So I think that's supposed to be like statistically significant, that benchmark. But the other thing that I think is important is to talk about the networking piece, and just being able to connect with individuals, talk to them, be very authentic. You're going to come across people that aren't. You're going to come across people that are very focused on exactly what they want and how they want it, and they know. Um, that's not how I operate. I'm really genuinely interested in other people that I meet because I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
And sometimes just by listening to other individuals, you'll get an idea, you'll hear about something that you've never heard about before. And it can just lead to this kind of domino effect. So,
Mhm.
I mean, the way I heard about dog tag is I was in a program at the USO and we were in there. I got accepted to this small, what's it called, business basics. It was put on by HPE. And anyway, and so that was my first introduction actually to business. And while I was there, the instructor mentioned dog tag. I was like, dog tag. And so that's how I found out about that. And when I was in dog tag, that's how I found out about Bunker Labs. And when I was in Bunker Lab, like it just repeats itself. And so if you've got that interest or desire, I mean, it doesn't hurt to check it out, to see what it's about, see if it's right for you. And
Right.
along the way, you might say, this is not for me, especially when it comes to starting your own business. And that sometimes is just as important as realizing, yes, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, it is. Finding out what you're not finding your no limits is as important as your yes limits. And
Right.
we find in the 3 years that we've been doing the entrepreneurial education and business startup courses, there are people that discover when they get in there that they like the idea of having a business, but by going through the program, they understand that they're better as an entrepreneur to be the employee of the month and working for somebody else
Mhm.
because their comfort level or their needs
Mhm.
dictate that. And then just going through a program reinforces that or helps direct them to that conclusion. Then you don't end up at the end of your life going, oh, if only I had done this. Well, you
Mhm.
tried this and you discovered that it wasn't for you, and that's okay too.
Right.
We have yet to find statistics and monetary values on how much money is and time is saved by people who think they want to start a business but go through a program and discover that no, that's really not what they want to be doing. I mean, that's a
Right.
huge time commitment and a lot of money that you didn't spend. So it's just as
Mhm.
advantageous to find out you're not really cut out to own a business.
Right. And I think along those lines as well is that it it doesn't have to be all or nothing either, right? If you have a job right now and you have financial income, right? You have some financial stability, but you're really interested in starting a business or, going down that route, you can do both. Like it's going to be hard. It's a lot of work, but my biggest advice is like make sure that your finances can sustain what you're looking to do and what your next steps are. That idea of the third shift entrepreneur, that you have your daytime job, you've got your family, and then you've got this other, it's almost like another child,
It
right, that
is.
you're raising and growing and shaping. And that's okay. And it's sort of like, okay, if this is where your income is coming from your regular job, but you really want to do this, I mean, you can slowly, tip it if you find that problem that you're solving, that business that you have, is financially feasible.
Hmm.
It's my 16-year-old. His birthday. He's
Happy
feeding the cat.
birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks.
Well, Gabi, I really enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed every conversation that you and I
Oh,
have
well,
had, and
thank
and
you.
we could get off on tangents and talk about all kinds of cool stuff because we have a lot in common, and we also share a passion. And the passion doesn't have to be the same, but
Right.
we recognize in people when they have a passion, and
Hmm.
that is sometimes all you need just to keep moving forward, even in the bleakest of times. So
Right.
I'm sure that the people involved in your organization, the other 12 are, or 13, are just also feeling blessed and fortunate to be on a path where they can kind of dictate their own destiny at this point, which
Mhm.
is really something that I'm passionate about. Is it's not so much that you're a business owner, but that you have control over your life
Mhm.
the way you want to live it, so you can live your best life, to
Right.
coin somebody else's famous phrase.
Yeah.
So I am very excited for you to participate in the incubator with us as a
Yeah.
member of the team. And
Thank
I
you.
know that we'll be seeing a lot more of you. And if you are watching this on Facebook Live, please reach out and say hello to Gabi and welcome her to the Action Zone family, because you're going to be seeing a lot more of her.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Rosie. Thank you for having me today.
You're very welcome. I hope you have a wonderful week. I know all of us that rooted for the Bucks are just going to be flying high all week long. We may not be having a parade at Disney this year, but I hear them still going down my street, even this morning, hooting and hollering with the air guns. So
Oh,
have a
how
good
fun.
week, everybody.
All right.
Gabi, thank you so very
You're
much.
welcome.
And we'll see you all in the funny papers.
Okay.
That was an old one, wasn't it? Showed my age. Have a good week,
All right.
everybody.
Bye.